Huge MMA news in the welterweight division. We have the biggest name in combat sports history in Conor McGregor moving up officially to the UFC's welterweight division. That's the first topic we're going to talk about today. Another thing in welterweight, Kevin Holland, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson set as a December main event. I'm going to give you all my early prediction. We got Bo Nickal, Khamzat Chimaev betting odds being released for a potential fight, and we have so much more. Make sure to stick all the way to the end of this video because we have 13 huge MMA news topics to go over in this video. Make sure to go down and like this video. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and turn on those notifications and comment. Who do y'all think McGregor should fight in his welterweight debut besides, the Donald Cerrone fight a few years ago? But let's get into the news. Conor McGregor officially moving to the UFC's welterweight division. And I'm thinking of potential opponents for McGregor now that he just went out there and said there's no way, there's zero chance that I'm going to be moving back down to the UFC's lightweight division. Right now, in the lightweight division, he is ranked number 12. Just went down a spot below Damir Ismagulov. Jorge Masvidal also just moved down 2 spots in the welterweight division. And I'm thinking, who in the world should Conor McGregor fight in his UFC debut? And I'm thinking Rafael dos Anjos. I'm thinking Jorge Masvidal. I'm thinking those two type of guys as front runners for a welterweight fight. Maybe Tony Ferguson, but I do think he's a little bit too old right now, and it'd be a little bit cruel to give him the steroided up Conor McGregor. So let's do Conor McGregor versus Jorge Gamebrand Masvidal. Main event of a pay-per-view. Winner fights Nate Diaz when he comes back from his little boxing venture over there with Jake Paul and Anderson Silva, whatever the case may be. But I think that's what should happen now that McGregor is officially a 170-pound fighter. Who knows? Maybe the man goes to middleweight with how much he has been bulking since his doctor stoppage with Dustin Poirier. But put your thoughts down below. Who does McGregor fight in the welterweight division? We got Kevin Holland and Stephen Thompson set for December main event. I believe it was December 3rd. Main event is Holland, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Even though Kevin Holland did say that he was retired from MMA, we all knew he was not retired. We made an MMA news video a few days ago with Stephen Thompson literally saying that the UFC had offered him the Kevin Holland fight during the retirement of Kevin Holland. So we all knew it was fake news that Kevin Holland was going to retire. Maybe a few people were gullible enough to be like, wait, what? Kevin Holland's actually retired? No, he's not. Now he's fighting Stephen Thompson in a December main event. Co-main, Derek Brunson, who Kevin Holland lost to, taking on Jack Hermanson. Early prediction for that one, I'm gonna go Stephen Thompson, but that is a live underdog bet. If Kevin Holland is like a plus 130, plus 140 underdog against Stephen Thompson, I am putting some dough on Kevin Holland to win that one because he does have the size advantage, the wrestling advantage, the youth advantage, the jiu-jitsu advantage, getting that Darce choke on Tim Means in his last fight. So it should be a good one there in the welterweight division, but it's a close one. I'm gonna go Thompson in a close decision. It is 5 rounds, which does favor the veteran in Stephen Thompson. But Kevin could catch him with something early or grind with the wrestling and grappling. But we shall see. Bo Nickal, Khamzat Chimaev betting odds have been released, and Bo Nickal is the biggest favorite against Khamzat Chimaev there has ever been. He's not an actual favorite over Khamzat Chimaev, but out of all the guys Khamzat Chimaev has fought inside of the UFC, he has been favored to win every single one of those matches. Gilbert Burns, the man was like a 5-1, 6-1 favorite. Over Bo Nickal, he is less of a favorite against Bo Nickal than he was against Gilbert Burns, a top 5 UFC welterweight in the world, a former title challenger, number 4 in the welterweight division, and a guy that has not even had his UFC debut is at plus 250 on the betting odds for a potential future fight against Khamzat Chimaev. And I'm going to be dead honest with you, kind of makes sense that he is the least favored opponent for between Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat has his worst odds against Bo Nickal out of every single other guy. It makes sense for me. But what do y'all think? If Bo Nickal Khamzat were to ever fight in that middleweight division, who would y'all think wins and how do you think they win? Bo Nickal, speaking of which, is not retiring from MMA anymore. Yesterday, we saw the article. I mean, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, if you watched yesterday's MMA news video. But yesterday, we were talking about Bo Nickal literally coming out and saying, I'm going to retire if I'm not on the main card of UFC 282. Then, like, 3 more fights got added to the main card of UFC 282, like, very high-level fights, including Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz. And after that happened, Bo Nickal was like, you know, I'm going to retract that. I'm not going to retire if I end up being on the prelims. And personally, I think he should be the main prelim. I've looked at every fighter on the prelims. The biggest other name besides Bo Nickal is Edmen Shahbazyan, and I do think Bo Nickal would beat Edmen Shahbazyan. He is better and has a bigger name. So I think rather than put Bo Nickal on the main card, have him main event the prelims at UFC 282. Phil Hawes has called out Bo Nickal for a future middleweight fight. Phil Hawes is a top-tier UFC middleweight fighter, only losing recently to Nasruddin Imavov, number 12. Actually, sorry about that. He beats Nasruddin Imavov, number 12 UFC middleweight in the world, and lost to number 14 UFC middleweight in the world. And this man, a guy that arguably could be in the top 15 of the middleweight division, calls out a debutant in Bo Nickal, who's about to fight Jamie Pickett at UFC 282. He says if he beats Jamie Pickett, he would like to fight him and put his hands on him and knock him out in the early rounds. What do y'all think? Phil Hawes versus Bo Nickal in the middleweight division. Who wins that fight? Rafael Fiziev continues to plead with Justin Gaethje for a future matchup, potentially at UFC 282. If they could not make it even more stacked than it already is on that UFC 282 main card, Rafael Fiziev is still urging Justin Gaethje for a fight. Justin Gaethje just actually rejected Conor McGregor for a main event of a pay-per-view fight. He said, I'm not going to fight Conor McGregor because I believe it would not be a fair fight because Conor McGregor is on steroids. And Rafael Fiziev immediately went out there and tweeted, well, I'm not on steroids, or are you scared of the actual skill that I have in the UFC octagon? Let's fight at UFC 282, says Rafael Fiziev. So I want to see the match. Fiziev wants to see the match. We're waiting on Justin Gaethje. I hope it gets made for UFC 282. Look up UFC 282 on Tapology, and it is so stacked already. That's a banger of a fight here. But Rafael versus Gaethje, I'd lean Rafael to win, but put your thoughts down below. Conor McGregor to make the biggest comeback in combat sports history. And this is what he said in a Twitter post earlier on today. Everyone was asking him questions on Twitter. He was talking about Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev, which we'll get into. But he also said that his comeback in the UFC's welterweight division, as we found out, is going to be the biggest comeback in UFC and in combat sports history. That he would come back and beat Leon Edwards or Kamaru Usman for the welterweight belt. He would be the first ever triple champion in UFC history. What do y'all think about McGregor making a big comeback? Or do y'all think he's just going to lose to like a Khamzat, to a Gilbert Burns, to a Jorge Masvidal maybe? Put your thoughts down below. Charles Oliveira easily beats Islam Makhachev at UFC 280 in the main event, says the notorious Conor McGregor. McGregor gives giving predictions for UFC 280 and says Oliveira is going to go out there and knock out Islam Makhachev early on in the fight. He also said that he would knock out Charles Oliveira early on in that fight. So he's saying he would knock out Oliveira and Oliveira would knock out Islam Makhachev. Do you agree or disagree? Shavkat Rakhmonov has entered the UFC's welterweight division top 10, going above Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, who goes from number 9 in the welterweight division to 11 in the welterweight division. Shavkat is finally a top 10 welterweight in the world, and this is a interesting thing, because Shavkat, I personally think, is going to be a future champion. I think he beats number 9, number 8, number 7, number 6, number 5, number 4, literally every guy in the UFC's welterweight division. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov beats, but what do y'all think about Shavkat going above Jorge Masvidal on the UFC rankings? Is he a future champion, or does he lose to Khamzat Chimaev or someone else in the welterweight division? Chael Sonnen calls out John Cena for an MMA fight. I kid you not, John Cena and Chael Sonnen is going to happen in 2023. Chael Sonnen is absolutely crazy. What do y'all think? Who would win? Maybe a WWE match, maybe an MMA fight, maybe a just straight up wrestling match. I don't care. This should be a funny one. Who do y'all think wins? Cheyanne, Vlismas, and Cory McKenna set for December 17th prelims. Early prediction for that one, I am going to be going with... let's go Cory McKenna to barely edge out a close decision there. I do believe she'll keep the striking fairly even on the feet. Cheyanne will have a slight advantage there. She'll win round number 1. McKenna will land the takedowns in round 2 and round number 3 and edge out a close decision. Not a confident pick by any means. Can definitely see Vlismas barely edging out a decision by outstriking Cory McKenna on the feet. But who do you think wins that one in the UFC's women's division? Yasmin Jauregui, if I'm saying that one correctly, versus Estela Nunes at UFC Orlando on December 3rd. My early prediction, Yasmin Jauregui by a TKO in round number 2. She's going to land some really big shots round 1. She's going to get on top of Estela and dominate her on the ground. That's my early prediction. Good fight inside of women's MMA. That is it for today's MMA news. The main topics, we have McGregor moving up to the welterweight division, Holland versus Thompson as a December main event. Above, Derek Brunson and Jack Hermanson. Bo Nickal, Khamzat Chimaev, betting odds released. Bo Nickal is not retiring from MMA. Phil Hawes calling out Bo Nickal and wants to knock him out round number 1. Rafael Fiziev continues to go for that fight with Justin Gaethje. We had a few more topics in today's video, but you can definitely scroll back a little bit and watch those topics. Thank you guys for watching. Go down and like this video. Let's get to 25 likes. Let's get everyone that is watching this video to the end. If you're here right now, go down and subscribe. Turn on notifications to get notified for when I post a new one. Thank you guys for watching. It's been fun. Make sure to turn on those notifications for a good reason. We're going to be live pretty much every single day, right around 9 to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. If you don't want to miss those, answering a lot of questions from you guys as the fans. Any MMA question, I will answer it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.